All right, here we go again. All right, here we go again. Buckle up. 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 Oh, hey, you're there. I was testing the audio. Yeah, it was way too loud. So I don't have a problem with protesting. I actually I don't remember if it was Chicago or Minnesota. They protested a facility. I understand it was a violation of law. But I felt kind of bad that they were arrested because they were the most well-mannered protesters I've seen in a long time. They went in, they sang their songs, they marched in, they sat down in the roadway where the traveled road where uh, the travel way, I guess they call it, where the transportation vehicles ingress and egress. So, they got arrested. But, I quite frankly, I congratulated them on mine. I don't know if they received anything. I said, look, you really did, even though you broke the law, and that's why that happened. I said, you really did conduct yourselves well, and you are a credit to anybody that really, believes in protest and civil disobedience. There is nothing that allows anybody to protest an act of law enforcement operation. There are several laws in federal, state, and local world, most if not all felony, that say no. It's the word doesn't exist. The idea doesn't exist. You can't actively protest or protest an active law enforcement operation. It's like stepping in front of somebody on a 911 call. Well, it's like a 911 call because history has proven to us that if we don't do this, there will be plenty of 911 calls. The people that remain. And again, ICE is not just willy nilly on most of it. I mean, a lot of pressure to deport people. They may not have a criminal charge, and ICE may not say anything, but when they investigate them, they're finding all sorts of signs. Like they could sit there for the next 6 months and then put them in prison, just sting them or something like that. But they don't have time for that. We don't have. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know. One of the things that's going on is that films of the immigrants. Oh, I'm a beautiful house. I'm so sad, and I have a country, and I have to build my retirement home faster. It's not ready. They stopped doing that with intention because Americans are going. You've got two houses. How do I get one? And that's the reality. Well, when you let too many unlawful people in, then they steal things, including the economy and the capability to make money. A lot of this stuff is laundered money. And the only people they're generally going to hire are immigrants. I was in Santa Fe, and I got my car towed one day, a Mini Cooper. I forget what was wrong with it, but I was somewhere and I had to take it back to where I lived. And the guy was telling me, and I recognized him from maybe like a jump starter or something. And I said, I started talking about all the crazy, because again, this is how I know what's happening there. All of the stuff that they're doing openly to those officers, they did, and then there's stuff happening to officers covertly. I don't know if the officers know or realize, but this is the stuff they were doing to me. I'm not imagining things. There's PIs and spy masters and narcos pay people to do that and pay spy masters to run that. But I was speaking to him about all of that, and he said, well, he said, see all these businesses we're passing? It's all money laundering, all of it. That's what he told me. He said, these businesses aren't real. So again, I know everything. People tell me things. I don't know what it is. All my life they tell me. No, I don't even ask questions. I'm just talking about, what was happening to me in my life. Well, he knew who it was. Right. So again, that's reckless endangerment. And I don't know if you'll get a jury in Minnesota to convict, but your legislature needs to stand up and realize that these people should be told to stay away from people with guns that are under stress based upon the need to engage in law enforcement operation to begin with. And actually, these programs that they're using are designed to be more effective against law enforcement than anyone else. These are the type of things they do to people that commit suicide in law enforcement. Now, there are some crooked cops that are part of it, and that's part of probably who's working for the Democratic Party. They may not be active cops at this point. They may be retired. They learned the spycraft stuff. And they're saying, good, it causes suicide, but it also can cause them to be a little jittery and shoot you. Bipolar disorder. It's exactly what they're trying to call. That's how I reverse engineered what they were doing. Because they try to say, well, we're just investigating. And they say it, some of them are. Is my volume on? It's looking weird here. It's showing my volume's on, but my other meter is kind of dead. I should have went the other way. So what they're trying to say is, oh, we're investigating. They say it like they're a vendetta against me for having been an investigator. Like they don't like honest investigators. They don't like crooked ones. I'm sure in Minnesota you have quite a few working, but hopefully cash finds them. Yeah, I'm not even sure where I'm at right now. I don't think I missed my turn. I should have went the other way. It takes energy to like broadcast this. So what happens is, things happen in my life. Oh, there's that house. I know I'm going the right way. That's a cathedral front window. God just showed me that. No, there was no reason for me to look to the right. So like when I was on with GPS, I saw it. Like Hashem had me look at it. God had me look. So now I know it was God that made me look at it, so I could later look at it and have a waypoint. God does stuff. know that I'm actually driving in the right direction. Oh, God's driving. Oh, thank you. He just appeared in my body. When you're a psychic, a real psychic, you can see these things. God said to me that there's a physical device that we could build that could detect the presence of God and the strength of the presence of God. So there's some sort of energy that God is. Again, you know how you feel the Holy Spirit? Something similar. But it's a physical device. So you can walk around till you find a strong presence of God and then start talking to God and he'll hear you better. No, this planet blocks it's Satan's planet. That's what's wrong. No, it's reckless endangerment. There's no protection for a governor from that. It's actually impeachable. Right. Or a mayor, quite frankly. But I'm not sure the process for the mayor. It might be a recall. But you have to keep them. You don't let people do that. It's insane. People are mentally ill. You're tapping into people's mental illness. I might get online and go, but these people are out there, man. I don't go out and do that, at the courthouse or anything, or the police station. Right. I mean, I don't even do regular protests. Well, they need to go public and tell them to stay away from any active law enforcement operation. Now, I'm sure they're going to say, oh, he betrayed us. But, it's not well for them to have that. But I think that was a Roto Swiss journal. Actually, I can go straight to truth. Oh, see? There's a sign right there on a church that told me that the Lord was, it's truth, and the Lord was in my heart. Right. Of course, without that happening, it would mean something else. So, it's a public safety risk. So, again, you have to maintain order. No, they can't be. They can't be there. There's nothing else. It just hasn't reached the Supreme Court yet, and I don't know when it will, or if there is even an active case. But I know what blips I receive is if it's an active law enforcement operation, there is no such thing as protests. It's a scam. It can't be. There's statutes against it. All right, this is like someone I think I know. See what so this is Weinstein. This is the University of Trump. Like go straight. All right. Yeah, I was on the right road. Right here. Governors and mayors should be telling their people to stand down around active law enforcement. Even if it was a bad shoot, there's a case to be made where it's a good shoot because you're disrupting them. You're not allowing focus. All those people out there are responsible for that woman getting shot. And as far as her mother saying she's not part of it, it looks like she looks like an activist. I mean, I'm not saying she should be shot for being an activist, but the activist caused a situation where somebody would be shot. Even if it was a bad shoot, it would be a good shoot. Because the lawyer would argue, how the hell is my client supposed to focus on what he's doing when you and your client and all their people are doing that? It's designed to disrupt and cause a psychological disruption. Right. In fact, all those people could be arrested for reckless endangerment. Officers trying to focus, and they're out there blowing whistles, acting like they're going to run them over. No, you don't. You cannot protest an active law enforcement operation. It's like standing in front of a local police car while it's on a 911 call. Same exact thing. Right. Now you can go to the essentially, and like I said, even though they broke the law, I felt good about who they were. And I feel good that, on the, again, sometimes I connect with, what's that lady's name? The Puerto Rican lady on the Supreme Court. Sotomayor, right. Sometimes, so like, I feel good from Sotomayor's angle that there are some people that know how to protest and how to say safe and engage in civil disobedience in the proper form, even though they're flouting the law, which is common in protest. And that's a lot of times judges are just like, yeah. Like for those people, it's just, yeah. I mean, it's just they did the right thing, and yeah, they disrupted. The cops had to come and arrest them, but they were doing it the right way. They weren't sitting there at some moment while cops are or law enforcement is trying to do something and then disrupting the law enforcement operation. It's a little less. I mean, even when you compared to the other ones where they were, the other facilities where they were crazy, and they just sat down and sang. And then when the cop picked them up, it was funny because the one cop goes, said you were obstruction and impeding or something. Because I'm being arrested because I'm this, that, and the other thing. And then the cop, it was like a gentleman protest, and the officers, gently handcuffed him, and it went well. So again, I don't have a problem with that. Right? I'm not like, oh, libtard. You're hearing the name libtard. Right? But it was a nice change to see that. I was kind of, oh, they're arresting them, because they were pretty nice people, Right. But again, it's good that they were out there because that's the example. We say we should do it like this. Even if you disrupt a facility for a couple minutes, you're going to make it worse. Is what you're all going to do. They're not going to go away. They're not going to stop. You drew blood, all of you, because of your disruption technology. That's just part of what it is, but it's actually psychological warfare, military psychological technology. They do stuff like that to people in prisoner of war camps. That's what you're all doing out there in Minnesota and in Chicago. So it isn't even just a normal, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy to obstruct. It's not just obstruction. And it's worse than that because you're wanting to psychologically damage the officers. Again, reckless endangerment. There's just enough is enough. And then the officer has to live with that. Could I have done it different? Should I have done it different? No, you can't. They wanted that. They paid money to private eyes who are actually spies, like Weinstein spies, to mess you up so you would pull the trigger, or somebody else would pull the trigger. Right. While encouraging the other people to be out there so you could pull the trigger on them. And then they write their emails. Oh, look at this, an American citizen. If it is an American, she's an idiot, if you ask me. But again, there are people responsible for triggering her and putting her out there. She may even have, does she have psychological issues? The woman was killed. Does she have OCD or borderline personality? Does she have any of those? I mean, she's in that world where a lot of those people do have that. Not trying to be unkind. The further we get into the liberal activist world, the more psychological, because they talk about it, more psychological issues they have. So again, these people may have some underlying psychological issue, and your people are triggering that. And then they're out there risking their lives and risking the officers' lives and destroying what could be a wholesome, quiet day. Even the people that are immigrants, they don't need to act like that. And like I said, you're hiding the fact that a lot of these people had money, had houses, had wonderful lives, while Americans are on snap. And they have a right to it. But the people that should be in that life, that are from Mexico and from Colombia and Venezuela, they don't get to come here because they're obeying the law. And your people broke the law and then took their place here. There would, if people wouldn't illegally immigrate, there would be visas be more visas for migrant farming, for even more. I guarantee you, baristas would get visas at some point. That's what we were trying to design the first administration. We did start approving, or they did start approving the visas. And I told Biden, keep control, bring them in because we need workers, but you have to keep control of this thing. They have to be working. They can't just sit out there because at a certain point they're like, oh, they're not allowed to work. Why? That's the only reason for them to be here. I know they're amnesty, but you got to keep them gainfully employed. And if they don't want to be, they're out of here. Unless they're an elderly person or disabled and they can't work. So they're not only ripping us off, they're ripping off the people in their country that could have been here. Now I understand the guy helped the guy from Venezuela. It was real. He was a Democratic Party member, and the socialists were killing him because they're anti-democratic party, which is bizarre. Why they stood up for Maduro, I have no idea. Now Fetterman knew not to, and then I guess the Biden administration knew not to. They're anti-LGBTQ plus, and they're anti-Democrat. They're not liberals. They're like Hitler. Or I guess we're like, what was that people called? The Kosovo people, Kosovo and right, Milovich or whatever his name is. That's what he's like. What they're like. There might be some hidden deaths that they're worried about, like disappearances. I don't know if there is or isn't, to tell you the truth. But yeah, if they don't come clean, and again, the Democratic Party, you messed it up. The psychology of what the Department of Defense did was supposed to shock them into making deals with us so that we could save Venezuela from itself. How about that? That's simple. And that's kind of, I think, what the president's trying to articulate. We're trying to save Venezuela from itself.